Hello, y'all. This is Coach Lindsay with the Jackass Podcast. I am here today with episode number 35. Um, and this week's been an odd week, so we're going to go over a whole bunch of stuff. Um, First, we're going to talk about the whole TSA thing and how that doesn't make a goddamn bit of sense to me. Uh, and from a lot of aspects. We're also going to talk about blessings. We're going to talk about accountability. We're also going to talk about the way death affects some people or certain people's death and how they kind of affect you. Uh, Talk about WWE, of course, talk basketball. No real big football news. The draft's coming up in a month. Um, I may have a look and see what the Cowboys need probably over the next couple weeks. And I guess just different ways people celebrate the Easter holiday that'll be next weekend. And that'll probably be when my next podcast is. But we'll see. Again, this is Coach Lindsay from the Jackass Podcast. Please like, share, follow, make some comments if you get a listen in. All right. Thank y'all. So this week, and I don't know why it's taking me so long. I guess I just decided not to pay attention on it. Was the stuff with the TSA. And the fact that the government, since February, so now about 6-7 weeks, that our federal government has refused to pay them, but we'll pay y'all back pay for y'all working for 6 weeks, and thinks that that's how these people are going to live. First, I have a couple questions. We've talked about accountability of government and how, and I'm gonna go off on this. This is probably gonna be one of my rants. I don't get how Democrats or how, actually, you know what? That's a lie. I don't understand why you have let yourself become so disconnected from the people who vote from you and that you're supposed to be helping. See, most people understand that Republicans aren't really there for the poor people directly. That is not their game. They want to make it easy as they can for local government and easy as they can for businesses and capitalism to work fully versus what what the Democrats used to do, which was stand up for the little guy, the one who didn't have a voice, the one who needed the regulations to help them out. And we've gotten away from that. Or they've gone to the absolute extreme where they said we're going to pick out the smallest percentage of people in this country, and we're going to go for them. And in a lot of ways, they have become so disconnected for who they say they represent that I don't know if they know what the hell they're supposed to be doing now. Because there's so many people that don't believe what they believe. And if you want to look at this from a grand perspective, you have people that are so far on the left that bitch because of stuff that we have to do now. Now, mind you, I grew up as a kid going to airports before 9/11. So I know the difference between before 9/11 and after 9/11, and the fact that it's loosened up a little bit since 9/11. Because I don't get this. I don't get how people in D.C. who probably get private jets and have enough money for that and get all this and don't get on commercial flights. So they don't see what they're putting people through. How are you? Because, see, this is a ripple effect thing. This is one of those things that they threw a stone in the water and it affects a lot more people than they think. Not just the people whose job they are taking from them and saying, no, we're not going to pay you. And in this country, for some reason, the federal government is the only one allowed to do that, by the way. The only one. And it's always tied to federal funding and them bitching in Congress in this nice little house where they're supposed to have these nice little rules and be these upstanding, dignified citizens, and they're acting like a bunch of spoiled brats, is basically what they're doing. And I know I don't have many followers right now. I hope this eventually reaches Congress's ear. Because tied to that, you're affecting people's livelihoods. You're affecting where people can live. Already in a hard enough economic time where we're worried about gas prices and stuff and wondering how people going to get there. But you ain't paying people who aren't making I don't know what they make. I don't know if they're making as much as an electrician who, if he had a government contract and it wasn't getting paid, guess what? He's not going to go do that contract and wait for payment. But I don't get this. I don't get how Democrats or congressmen in general can be so stubborn that whatever they say is whatever we're going after is the right thing. So we're gonna do all this stuff. And now we're gonna affect people's money. People that don't have much money in a lot of cases, we're affecting their money. That's some self-centered bullshit. That's not you looking out for the people. That's looking out for your own personal interests and your own personal pride. And you getting your feelings hurt and acting like a fucking baby. And I'm talking to politicians, by the way. I'm talking to people in the House of Representatives and Senate who are filibustering or blocking so they can get their job done because they don't like and they didn't negotiate well enough, or so we can't have a vote, so we're going to take out all these people. Stop being babies. Pull up your pants. Do like a working man has to do every day. Do like someone who doesn't make $200,000 a year has to do every day. Or make your $450,000 that y'all make. Because in essence, that's not poor man's money. That's not middle class money. That's well off money. And y'all are acting like, well, people bitching don't understand. No, you motherfuckers don't understand. The people in Congress who have not worked a real job in a long time, y'all don't understand. You don't understand the ripple effects that your decisions have, or you don't care. And you're psychopath or sociopathic that you don't care. That it's all about you and your glory. You ain't God. You're not going to be remembered as a deity. If you're remembered at all, it's going to be a footnote of history that's not going to be looked well upon. And depending on who's writing the history books at the time, is on how well it's going to be viewed. Speaking of stuff that just doesn't make sense to me as far as government goes, and I know this is just like from one TikTok source, but this lady's a lot more into it than I am. What the hell is Texas doing with history? Like, seriously, what are we doing with revising the history teaks? And if you're not from Texas and you happen to listen to this, TEAK stands for Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. Those are things that, as an educator, are my basic guideline for what I teach as far as the state is concerned. But the people setting up the teaks aren't educators or don't understand the psychology and the mental wellness, or not the mental wellness. Wellness is not the right word. How we learn in different stages of life, and they haven't looked it up. And we'll get into this about accountability. But if this goes through like the crap in the way that I'm seeing it, I don't know what y'all are trying to teach people. Because I'll be honest, the only time I ever heard of Moses was in the Bible. And that's one that I think they said it was like fourth grade. Um, I don't remember a lot of biblical people being mentioned in history, even though I know that there's some truth to the biblical stories. But just the way that it's phrased and what we look at throughout world history, I think we've gotten away from what we actually need to be teaching. Because someone, and we're going to go off on this because education is usually probably my longest segment. And this is one of them that probably over the next week I really need to look at full bore, wholeheartedly to see what they are actually doing. Because I don't think the School Board of Education is actually in it for education. They're lining someone's pocket and getting something out of it. Because they're not looking in the best interest of kids. Hell, Texas as a state doesn't look in the best interest of all kids. And it is one of the biggest crocks of shit of being in Texas. And an educator in Texas. And I love the job I do. I'm not thinking of quitting. I've been around it for 13, 14 years at some point in time since I graduated college, which was about 13 years ago. I have been full bore into it, which caused some strife with me and my wife at times because that was my thing. I wanted to do this wholeheartedly. But every time we look up, where 80% of kids goes is public education. And we're adding so much to public education teachers except funding. Because Lord knows that if we made teachers happy, God bless, what could we do then? But Lord also knows that these people ain't worried about making anyone happy but whoever money that they're putting in someone's pockets to screw with the kids, to screw with everybody. To do stuff that they shouldn't be doing and think that they're doing right by the kids. Because they're not. Because there's a whole bunch of people to come up with some stuff. And you get to looking at it and you go, what are they doing? So, I'll give you an example. The district I'm in right now is one of the largest in the state of Texas. It's the largest in San Antonio. And they spend a lot of money on programs, and then you're just supposed to kind of figure it out. And our math department is getting like monthly checkup from these people that the district spent a whole bunch of money on for this program that someone thought was a great idea that wasn't really. It hasn't come off as a great idea yet because the kids aren't really learning it. Because we also have contradicted, and Texas is going to be a few years behind this because they don't want to believe anybody outside the great state of Texas. But I'm going to tell you this from anecdotal experience and dealing with kids for the past 13 years that 60 to 70% of the kids that are in my classroom would not have lasted in my school career with the same attitude that they have now. And how they're going to last in the real world, and we're not preparing them, but the parents are preparing them, and the state damn sure is not helping prepare them because people have bitched and whined and cried and said it's hard, and they don't give a shit. Our state in reality has made failing fine as long as they get to control the failure rate and they won't tell you what the actual goal is every year on the STAR test. They think that's fine. And don't, and please don't, I'll go head to head. If a politician wants to come on this podcast and we can have this discussion, I've been sitting in a classroom or adjacent classroom for 13 years. All right? I've been the guy who's the in-school suspension monitor for 4 years of my career. I did subbing for a year, pre-COVID. Both those were pre-COVID. I did a charter school for a year as, I won't say inclusion, but as a push-in teacher. So I would go into certain classes. I didn't have a class every day I had to go in. I didn't have that kind of structure at the time. And I have done the co-teacher inclusion setup, which at times is hard to kind of figure out unless you were perfectly on your game on both parts. And I have done life skills / ALE, and I've done behavior management classes. So I've done the full range in a lot of ways of, at least for a middle school, as a special education teacher. I haven't had the responsibility of actually having to come up with the full lesson plan. No, I break down your lesson plan. I make it easy for the kids that I'm supposed to be in there servicing. But sometimes we don't get that opportunity because the lesson goes long, because we got disruptions in the class, because we can't hold the people and kids and adults accountable for their actions within the school setting. I did not know the true rule for attendance till I was a freshman in high school. Now, mind you, I grew up in a situation that was not normal. My brother having the rare birth defect, it was not normal. I know this. Not only do I know this, I have accepted this on many, many ways. And I continue to accept that my life was different. But in a lot of ways, what's wrong with this country is we're in teenage mode. We've gotten too big for our britches in a lot of things. And we think that every emotional whim that we have should be everyone else's priority. And if we don't get out of that mindset, this country's not going to be what it wants, what it is, or what it should be, what the founding fathers wanted it to be. And it's showing that every time someone has a problem right now, they're shutting down part of the government and trying to blame the other person because they're the one who shut it down. So we're playing the blame game and haven't listened to it. And now people are so blinded by their loyalty, their emotional attachment to a political party, that they don't understand what's actually going on and not having a damn bit of rational thought. See, you want to see what the ending of y'all pushing against public and free education and what the original intent was to make us more valuable members in society, and we've pushed away from it because we took everything that makes us a valuable member of society and taken it out of the classroom and had parents and philosophies that have proven over time not to work, from gentle parenting to Dr. Spock parenting to making everybody feel like they're special. No, if you do something special, you should feel special. If you do something extraordinary, you should feel like you're special then. But if you do something ordinary, that's what's expected of you. And I think the only kids are the kids that get put in those situations where okay, ordinary is fine. But for me to be extraordinary or extraordinary, I need to do something better than the ordinary. And we've taken that away from kids. Because everybody needs a prize. Everybody needs to feel special. Everybody needs to feel good about themselves. No, they don't. Learning through failure is not the world's worst thing. Holding your child accountable is not the world's worst thing. Holding your child accountable for the actions that they have within the classroom and us measuring administrators on basically the social performance for parents evidently is not doing our education system any good. And we have let people take logic and the stuff we need out of the classroom and taking the respect for the whole profession of education and deemed it as less than for some reason. Well, you're just a teacher. You're just a this. You're just a that. And yet, most of the people who don't do that job wouldn't last a couple days in there. Couldn't handle adults acting like this in their job. Like, I'm gonna give you an example. If I'm running a team of 30 people as a manager, and I got 3 just being distracted, and I've given them 3, 4, 5 warnings. At what point in that are you just firing those guys because they're being a detriment to the team? See, as a public educator, in a class of 30, I'm expecting 3 to be knuckleheads, to be a distraction. I can't fire them. I can't get them out there, and I can't do much to them unless their parents are there to help. See, there are places we have taken out of society that people have purposely taken out over time and time and time, whether it be the church, whether it be the school system, places where we actually built communities around it and strengthened our community. Now that we have social media, it's divided our community. It's resegregated it, basically, just to what the opinions you like and I like and we both like. And a lot of people won't go against whatever their opinion is. It is a hard thing not to feel that as I get through education. And in all honesty, at 44, my plan is another 23 years. That'll put me around 37 years in education by the time that happens. That's my plan. That's what I'm looking at. Is it all going to be at the level I'm at? I don't know. I don't know where I want. I know what my plan is and what I would like to do. Right now, I don't know how far up that ladder I want to go on that plan. And I don't know what opportunities are going to come up. But my plan is to go up to high school next. Or maybe go out to a place where I can coach high school and teach middle school. I don't really know at this moment. And that, I'm not even scared. I'm more interested and intrigued that if I take, by whatever path I get to take, to see how this experience will be. But it's still going to be within education. And in 20 some odd years, how much different is this going to look? How tired am I going to be of dealing with people? Because they haven't grown up the same way I have. And we have this generation, and now these kids who were, let's see, I graduated in 2001. You say about 2008, 2009. So my kids have grown up with a generation where a young kid having a cell phone is a normal thing. And I grew up in a generation that, as a senior in high school, I got my first cell phone. But I wasn't on it all the time. One little computer that we had in our hand. How different is this going to be in 20 years? Because in 25, the world has changed so much, it's not funny. And I don't know if it's changed for the better. I think the tension was there. I think it was corrupted along the way. I think people have corrupted it in that we accept failure unlike anything we ever did beforehand. I think that we have this habit now that we lower the bar so much so people can attain it so they don't actually have to try to attain what the bar should be. The bar should not be lower than what it was 25 years ago. And it is. When 40 and 50% is the raw score on that test, and that is how you are judged, that your kids get 40% of the STAR test, and that is basically a passing grade, then we have lowered the bar. Or we put something so hard in front of them that we know they couldn't reach it, except the extraordinary ones. And the ones who are willing to do the work. But we set the bar so low now that they're shining actually in that shining. And that's what sucks. Because we also taught kids to be helpless. And parents. And it is a fight I've had with some people in my life while my kids have been growing up. Teach learn helplessness. I never taught my kids to learn helplessness. It wasn't me. I've always challenged them to figure it out. Even the simplest, most minute things. Nah, go look it up. Go figure it out. Especially as they've been in high school and stuff. And it annoys the living shit out of them. But Dad, you know. Yeah, but you ain't gonna learn it if I just tell it to you. As a society, we need to hold everyone equally accountable for the generations that we're bringing up. It's not just the teacher's fault. It's far from just the teacher's fault. See, the teacher's the tip of the iceberg everybody sees and wants to blame. But like most things, most of the problem is underneath. Most of the problem is not in the classroom. And I've said it before. Your child's first teacher. If you have a young child and you are a parent, your child's first teacher is you as a parent. They're going to learn so much more from you in that first 5 years of life than they will from me over the next 12. How they treat people, the good and bad things that they do, the habits that they form. I'm only someone who can help. 16 of the 24 hours, they're around you. They're around me for the other third. And a lot of kids that come across me in middle school, which is one of the reasons I actually like doing middle school, get told that I am the asshole you're going to deal with in reality. It's not always going to be a nice guy. I'm not going to worry about your ego. And I don't know how many times I said it, but I say it every week that I have been in education. And my opinion is not going to change. Because businessmen at the end of the day are only going to worry about their money. Doctors are going to worry about how they're being held accountable for their patients. Hospitals are worried about not getting sued. Districts are worried about not getting sued because they have to uphold certain standards. We have to learn that accountability starts at home first. And this whole trend of adults not understanding, oh, why am I getting taken to truancy court? Y'all got spoiled, in all honesty. During COVID, everyone got spoiled as far as education was concerned. Because we ended up giving you a very light beta version of what the school classroom was, and y'all took that as how class was and what our expectations were. Because we got thrown into something that we didn't understand, did it for a year, and now 5, 6 years later, everybody's like, well, y'all did it then. Why can't we do it now? I've had the same fucking argument in my house, and it's annoying. There are certain rules we got to go by. Just like there's certain rules you got to go by at work. Our job as a community is to teach kids how to be adults. So I be like, my wife and daughters have gone off on this whole thing. And I'm not worried about, oh, it's their last this, it's their last that, it's their last this all the time. No, it's not their last time doing some of this stuff. We've glorified being a child, and that's great. But you're going to spend more time of your life as an adult than you are as a child. And if you're not, then you're failing as a person. Unless you can hit something that's childlike and it's great, fine. But you're not getting the most out of life if you ain't willing to act like an adult and do the adult things. So, as far as education goes, we need to hold our students and our children accountable for their actions or their lack thereof actions. I don't have time if I got a whole bunch of kids and a whole bunch of different situations just to baby one child every day. That's not on me. That's on you as parents if you have kids. Don't fork your responsibility over to me because your child decided he didn't want to do work. No, that's not my job. My job is not to let him not do work. My job is to be fair to everybody, as fair as I can be. So if I expected everybody to do the work, then guess what? He's part of everybody. Or she's part of everybody. I don't care. You can say it's cruel unless there is an extraordinary circumstance. In my judgment on that's going to be harsher than a lot of people's. Just because you want to go on vacation middle of the year because it's cheaper, I don't care. I would love to do that too. But I probably won't. So let's go. Now, with all that governmental and education stuff out of the way, this week's been odd for me. This is going to be a reflective part of the podcast. So I have a weird family dynamic. Maybe not weird. Just very non-traditional in a lot of ways. And if you know me, this shouldn't shock anybody. But so I never knew my biological father. My mom had me. I was the product of an affair. We moved from Kentucky to Oklahoma because she was in the military when I was 9 months old. And somewhere around a year, we met who became my now ex-stepfather. And then they had my little brother who had a rare birth defect. And when growing up, in my mind, for some reason, I don't know if I compartmentalize this or what, I don't know what it would be or how I compartmentalized it. that my mom's mother and father were always, it was a more formal thing. It was my grandmother and my granddad or grandfather. And then my ex stepfather's was always the less formal version of it. Grandma, grandpa. Um, More homey. My wife at times feels more connected to that side of the family, even though they're not directly blood related to me. But my ex stepfather had a lot of influence on me. Some good, some bad. But still, one of the pillars of my, like, people who were like father figures to me probably goes my grandfather, then him. And not even knocking him, it was just time spent in a lot of ways. And less, I think there was less drama around my grandfather than there was around Spencer, especially with my mom. And I love Spencer. Spencer treats my girls like they're his granddaughters. I have nothing but love for the man. Um, but his mother passed away this week at 98 years old. And when you've been around someone, and I'm 44, so I've been around her for at least 40 years of my life. And it wasn't like an everyday thing. I didn't see her as much as I saw grandmother and granddad. But I realized I knew one thing. And I say this with all love. I realized that she never made me feel any less of family. And between her and my grandfather, what my sense of family is come from, it's come rooted from them in a lot of ways. They were of I think it's a generational thing. And I think it's a less possessive thing. I think it's more an experience thing of how we view family. And and she was grandma to me. And while I'm sitting here trying to remember a lot of like moments with her, I don't have many. I always remember going up to her house, which if you talk to people from Austin, everybody kind of knows her house because it's in a weird spot. Um, it's been there forever. But I just remember her house. And it's old and it's cricky and it's changed a little bit since I was a kid. But there was always love there. Didn't matter the circumstances you ended up in that house, you always felt love from her, from all my aunts and uncles on that side, all the cousins. Had cousin that I grew up with, and we were kind of, and she's probably what 5, 6 years older than me. Um, it was just, it's just been a weird week because I found out about her death on Tuesday, this next Tuesday, because I'm recording this on Sunday. I'm gonna go to her funeral up in Austin, and I don't have vivid memories of her, but they're all like hugs and stuff, and they're all like just little things that she did. I'm gonna miss her Christmas gift, which was always something very random. Because she always bought for everybody, so you get some random stuff that she found on sale, and it was always random, but it was randomly for you. Like she was deliberate in some of the stuff she picked, but she would pick certain stuff for the boys, certain stuff for the girls, and then she'd have like one or two things that were just you. Stuff that she knew you would need or could use. I think I got like 3 screwdrivers. I've gotten flashlight. Um, just stuff she knew I'd like. And one of the things that for me has traditionally happened is I can come up with a poem for the person that passed away. I have one for my grandfather. I have one for my grandmother. I have one for my brother. Um, for her, I'm having a hard time because I think she was just one of the major influences of how I view family and friends, and it was a blessing to always be around her. Um, she is always one of the kindest women I know, and she may be one that shares with some of my friends that as I started thinking about it, she just wasn't someone that I had. Not that she, not even that I only think that she didn't love me or anything like that. That we just didn't have the same relationship because I wasn't there all the time. But I always felt welcome. Like her picture wall, I'm up there on multiple occasions. My kids are up there, my wife's up there, which is great. So this week has been weird and that. But on the same day I find that out, I also find out of another opportunity that I hope happens, and I think would be interesting and intriguing to me. And it's one of those weird things where one thing kind of closes and one thing kind of opens. So, but I feel blessed to at least have had her as a presence in my life. And I had one moment this week where I almost broke down because of it. And it's oddly one of my favorite scenes in all of NCIS. And it happened probably like 5, 6 years ago. And and it's just one of those things where they read a poem, and I'm a big poetry guy. I love poems. I love death poetry when I was out. I love slam poetry. I love sentimental poems. I love stuff like that. But I think it fits her perfectly. And the poem's called Epitaph, and you can go look it up. You can go look it up. It's a poem on NCIS. Um, and it's a great poem. And you know what? Let me see. I may practice this real quick. Let's see. Donald's. Here it is. The poem is called Epitaph by Merritt Malloy. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother, walking the street beside you, and when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. And for some reason, the day after that I heard she passed away, that poem stuck in my head. And that's a feeling that I think she always gave off. Was that of um, uh, was that of love and caring and passing it through people. And she showed it with the life she lived. So thank you, Grandma, for that. So, uh, let's see. Um, oh, I'm sorry. Give me a second. All right. All right. So next thing, let's go through the sports stuff and entertainment stuff. Um, man, because that was, you know what, that was oddly one thing. Like my ex stepfather is nowhere near as big sports fan as I am. Um, he, because he was a military brat, he never really got to participate as much. So because she was a military wife, I think they were from Georgia originally, and she ended up in Austin. Like I said, I've been alive for 40 years, and they were in the same house. And I think that's where Spencer graduated, and he's 76. So they've been in Austin for like 60 years. So, but let's talk about what's it called? Let's talk about Spurs. Man, the Spurs are just on a streak, man. I know I keep hearing about Wimby and how good are the Spurs. I want to see how they handle those first changes in the playoff series, but I think they're going to do well. I think Mitch Johnson got under the pop coaching tree and just said, "Okay, let me have all of it," and probably still listens to some stuff Pop says. Um, the team is just deep, and it's young and deep, so that'll be fun to see. Do I think they'll catch up? Do I think that they'll catch up to Oklahoma City Thunder? Maybe if Oklahoma lets off the gas, but I don't necessarily know if they're going to fully catch up, but they're going to be close. Uh, but they shall be close. What else we got? Uh, ooh. So let's see, where are they at on standings right now? They are 2 games back. Okay. Let's see. It's still those three that have already clinched the playoffs. There we go. See where they're number 2 in the league. Okay. Uh, this is going to be a fun team to watch. A very, very fun team. So we'll see. I do like it. I love watching Spurs games. It's been hard for a few years to watch Spurs games. This year has not been, and I wouldn't say that the old school. It's not an old school Spurs team. It's kind of a mix of what the Spurs started off as in the Tim Duncan era and being so defensive centric, but a lot of Wimby's highlights, and I love Tim Duncan, but Wimby's more controlled on where that block goes than Tim is, or Tim was. So them getting on fast break, it kind of reminds you, and I want to say it was Bill Russell who said it many, many moons ago, was talking about blocks and stuff and just getting them into the other person's hands so you get them on the fast break. And if you watch old Bill Russell clips, that's what he used to do. And so it's kind of that type of mindset. Wimby wants to get, if he gets a block, he wants that playing in and a lot of the Spurs do. They want that to be on that fast break, we're gone type of deal, which is fun, very, very fun to watch. Um, NCAA, I think my bracket's totally busted. Florida didn't make it. And Purdue didn't make it. And those were the only two that I picked up in brackets. So I think my bracket is just done. I'm not worried about it. I've never been good at that, and I don't watch enough college basketball to be great at it. But it always is fun around this time of year. Next one, WWE. You can tell it's WrestleMania season. I do love the AJ Lee stuff with Becky Lynch. That has been great. It was probably the least climactic of all the what's it called, of all the setups, and just that she's like so that'll be fun to watch. Obafemi and Brock, I think they're gonna have Obafemi go over. I think this will be one of those things where uh, so let's see what else we got. Let's go. Uh, the Drew McIntyre Jacob Fatu has been a great build. I love putting them in an unsanctioned match. Um, that's a good one. I will say the funniest moment of the week was Johnny Gargano winning the four-way to become number one contender for the North American Championship. I don't know why this has intrigued me any with his little I'm so sad my partner left me crying act, but it's been a good bit of comedy. The whole R Truth Damian Priest dynamic has been great. Um, I loved it. Uh, you know what? I do kind of like the Jay Cargill getting a couple cronies type deal. I think that's going to be the reason if Rhea doesn't win it and they keep Jade. I think it's going to be a big. There's going to be something that happens because I don't know how far along till Bianca Belair comes back, but that's going to happen some point in time, and you know she's going to go after Jade, and Naomi's probably going to come after Jade whenever she gets back off maternity leave. Um, but like the fact, the one that's odd is that we haven't seen Roxanne in a while, and I think she would be good in the mix. What else? Something tells me the women's tag team match is going to end up being a four-way with Lyra and Bailey, Charlotte and Alexis, Lash and Nia and the Bellas. And then the Bellas somehow win this whole madness. I think that's just for a feel good moment. It's the Bellas or Charlotte or Lyra and Bailey. I just have a feeling that that's going to be the way that goes. I love seeing Cody come out the last. Like, I was kind of watching that match, and I actually love seeing the dark side of Randy come out. It's been probably like 7, 8 years since we've seen it. And I think that's why it's getting a pop. It's really, really weird, but that's why it's getting a pop. Um, that's been spectacular. Uh, it has been interesting seeing the whole total bloodline thing from the MFTs and the original OG bloodline members. I think that's great, and I think uh, the Sami Zayn winning the or not IC, the United States title, that was really cool. I like that. Uh, I want to see how all this goes. We got a few weeks left, so There'll probably be a couple more things to pop up. I wouldn't be surprised. They got Trick and match. They've got an Oba match. I wouldn't be surprised if Javon Evans has some sort of match. Maybe a Kofi Javon Evans match at WrestleMania. That I think that would be interesting. Um, I don't know what else you could add on to these cards, or unless this is going to be like WrestleMania's been, where it's been instead of 3, it's like 4 or 5 hours, and it's just going to be 2 long days of watching wrestling, uh, which is okay, fine. They get to do their thing, but man, it is a long weekend of watching wrestling stuff, and it can be very, very tiring. Uh, what else, man? You know what? Here's what I hope. I hope y'all have a long, good week. Um, I hope y'all realize that we are all blessed to be in this country, and that you are blessed to be taking a breath. Um, I feel blessed to have my kids, my wife, and everybody. And I know death usually lets us see blessings in a different way. Um, and I think it teaches you to appreciate what you have while you're alive. So I hope y'all are blessed. Um, and if you're not, I hope you work to get blessed. Because a lot of that time, it takes some work to become blessed. It takes some patience, it takes some love, and it takes respecting people. So we'll just, hopefully, y'all have a good week. Again, this is Coach Lindsay with the Jackass Podcast. Like, share, comment, whatever y'all need to do. Y'all have a good week. We will see you later, man. Peace.